So this is going to be the customizations in Flexmls class. We are going to be covering some basic customizations you can do in the system so you can use it kind of more how you want to use it. There was a handout that was sent in the email yesterday. These are the key takeaways that we're going to talk about, but that is more or less the order that we're going to go in. I don't think this is going to take 2 hours just because we have a small class, and I always plan for 2 hours when I have in-person classes because I have a lot more questions. So this is being recorded though, and it should be up on our YouTube page later in the day. So before we get started, I just want to point out that all of our trainings are showing up in this YouTube on demand training. So if I click here, you will see that we have the short video, the Tuesday tips that we've been doing every Tuesday, but also my longer classes will be in this section as well. So the best of Flexmls and the searches, subscriptions, and portals. So again, the training, and then we also have our previous Tuesday tips here. So if you want to watch those, and these are based on the call logs. When people call in, we create videos based on those questions. Okay, so customizations in Flexmls. Flexmls is really short for flexible MLS. So it allows you to do a lot of things in the system. It provides you templates or default things that you can use, but then it allows you to customize based on how you use the system. So the first thing that we're going to be focusing on are quick search templates, views, and sorts, and we're going to do them all at once. So we're going to go into a quick search, and let me clarify what we're talking about when we say quick search templates and views and sorts. So on the left side right here, we see a bunch of search parameters, and then I see also an option to add a field. So the ones that are here by default, this is called a search template, and we see the 1- residential. Now, when I click on change search template, and I switch it to say land, you will notice that the fields change. So these are provided to you by default, but these aren't the only options. So what we're going to do is we are going to customize the fields we always see on this left side. So that's going to be a quick search template. What we're also going to do is if I click on the list screen, there are these columns, and you'll notice that I have one called view agent name, and I have all these different views. These are ones that I've created for myself, which is what we're going to do in this class today. We're going to create our own view, meaning we decide what columns are available here on the screen. And if you see the 1- residential with the asterisk, this is the default one for the 1- residential search template. So this one you should recognize. So again, we're going to customize this screen. We're going to customize what's on this screen, which is the quick search template. But then the final thing we're going to do in this process is we're going to customize the sort. Now, if I click on sort right here, I will notice that it sorts on search results. So what we see is we see a price, it's sorted by price, and a few other things. If I were to click on the top of something like area, you'll notice price and then K01. So it's sorting on price, then it's sorting on area. So if I sort or descend or ascending, I can also sort it on area. But then now this just sorts on this one thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to create our own custom sort, and it can have multiple levels. It could sort on status first, then it could sort on area, then it could sort on price. So we can have multiple levels of sorts, and again, customize how we want to do this. So we are going to do this all in one. Now, the easiest way to do this process is to actually start with the view, create our view. When we're in the view section, we're actually going to set up the sort there. And then the final process is we're going to customize what is on this screen. So the template, the view, and the sort are all custom, and they get married together. So you know which, when you have your template, it has a specific view and it has a specific sort. So let's get, let me just put my phone in D&D. Let's just get started. So I'm going to go in back to the list tab right here, and I'm going to click on view. And you notice it says 1- residential. And whenever you see these asterisks, this tells you you cannot change this template, meaning you can't change what's there. You can use it as the basis as a copy. But Flex doesn't let you get rid of the templates, because if you accidentally delete something, you wouldn't be able to get it back. So this 1-residential, residential lease, these, you can't delete them. They stay there, just like this view, 1-residential, 1-residential lease. You cannot delete these, but you can use them as the basis for your own custom templates. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on view right here. And so I'm going to give it a name. I'm just going to call it my residential view. Decide if I want it to show the photo or not. I'm going to say yes. I could create it for a default for any of these options like my listings, office listings, address or MLS number searches, just personal preference. Maybe I want to do it for my listings. So on the first tab, we are going to give it a name, and the name is going to be something different than the 1-residential, because again, that's the template. We cannot change that. So we're going to go into the field section. Now there's a handful of things that we can do on the field section. So let's pay close attention. First thing we can do is if I go over to the right, I see that these are all the fields that are available in that column. Think of this as an Excel spreadsheet. We can add columns, we can remove columns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the things that I'm not interested in. So like estimated selling dates. I'm going to get rid of sold date. Let's do cumulative days on market because I already have days on market. Again, personal preference, what you want to do, you are going to remove the fields that you do not want by clicking on the X. Now you'll notice I have these, my cursor keeps changing. It has an arrow, then it switches to the 4 directionals, which tells me I can, when I see the 4 directionals, if I hold my left mouse button down, I can rearrange the order. So I can drag and drop. You'll also notice now, once I've done that, it opens up the text box. So what I can do is I can change the label of this column so it takes up less space. Again, think of an Excel spreadsheet. The label is the width of the column. And so if you have a really, really long thing, but the data is only a couple of numbers, you don't need like days on market. If this was written out, days on market, that takes up a lot of space, where a days on market are just going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 numbers. So if you have these labels that are too long, you can just change them. Otherwise, if that made me change it, otherwise, if I click on say like total BAS, click on it, I could change total BAS. Maybe I want to narrow it down to BAS like that. Takes up less space. And why this is important is people will like to print off the list when they're printing, and they want to have the columns not take up so much space so they can turn it to landscape portrait or landscape orientation. And then when they print it, it'll all fit onto one sheet of paper. So takes a little bit of practice doing this, but I'm just going to change those bath labels just so it's a little less space, just to show you how you do it. So what we did is we clicked on the X to get rid of the things that we do not want. I use the 4 directionals if I want to change the order of the fields. So hold down my left mouse button and then just drop it. And I'm going to get rid of the SIC code. I don't need that. And then I can also change the labels by clicking on something if I want to make the label take up less space. I'm going to get rid of status because status is already here. And then the final thing that I'm going to do is on the left side, I can start to add fields over. So if I want to see certain information on now in these columns, like say new construction, I click on it and it adds it over. Or maybe I want to do school district. It adds it over. Now, something like new construction, this is one of those things that, hey, it's going to just say yes or no. Well, this label is really wide and it's going to take up a lot of space, and I'm going to be having some space I'm not utilizing very well. So I could just do NC, if that makes sense to me, or new con. So I know exactly what it is. So then again, I'm not taking up too much space in that spreadsheet. So when I want to print it or just see it on my screen as well, you know, if you put in too many columns, you're going to have to use the scroll bar at the bottom of the screen to see all that data. So once you play around with this, you can decide how it works on your screen monitor. I'm using a nice big screen, so I could fit more stuff. Whereas if I'm using my laptop, I would have less fields and I would have to use the scroll. So just to sum up what we did on the general screen, we gave it a name. something different than 1-residential. Then on the fields, we did 4 things. We got rid of the field by clicking on the X. If we don't want to see it on that list screen, don't want to see it in one of those columns, we clicked on a label if we want to change the name of the label because it's taking up too much space. We used the 4 directionals to move things around. And then also we added fields on the left side if we want to see more information. So we've now decided what fields we want to see on the view. And then the final thing we're going to do is we're going to go to sort right here. Go to sort. So when I go to sort, I'll see that the search results fields, it's first sorting on area, then it's sorting on current price. Now I can use this sort, or I can create my own sort. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to create a new sort. And I'll just call this one. I like to name the sorts, the fields that I'm using, just so it's easy for me to find it. Do status, area, price. And so I like to start with status because I know some people, when they do searches and they want to do, like, say, a 1-line CMA, or they want to do certain things, they want to see them in the active status first. They don't want it all mixed up. So sorting on status first, then area, then price is a way to do that. So I can type in the word status, and we'll do ascending, do area, add over area, and then I'm going to sort by price. So we'll just do the list price, or actually, no, we'll do current price. So now all of these are good. Just double check, make sure my work looks correct. I got my name. Yep. I have the fields that I want. Okay. Maybe I'm going to move subtype up. Makes more sense towards the beginning. Everything looks good. And then I make sure my sort, I do have my custom sort. So let me click on save. So what, I already did a view with this description. Let me change it. Problem with teaching these classes, I tend to use the same name. So my new res view, there we go. So what I did now is, this is the customization that I did, is if we go back to our 1-residential, which is the default template for the view, we see different fields. What I did is I created one called my new res view, and I decided what columns that I want to see here. And so I see it fits great onto one screen. Everything looks good. You'll notice that even when you've done a view, watch what my mouse does. It goes from an arrow to suddenly it goes to like these bars. I can use my left mouse button, hold it down, and I can actually collapse or make these columns wider if I want. And it will actually remember that. So everything looks good. Maybe I want to narrow down the Covington one a little bit. And now there's no scroll bar. It all fits on one screen. So I've created this view. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to create a template with it. Before I do that, what I want to do is I want to first test out to make sure it's working correctly, because we did a sort. Remember, we did a sort on status, then we did a sort on area, then we did a sort on price. So let's do a search. Let me just give it a price range of, say, 300 to 350,000. And let me do status, hold on control or command, pending and sold. And I'm just going to go back 3 months. All right, that's a lot of data. So maybe let's just go back 1 month. Okay, that's actually, it's way too much data. So I'll try 10 days instead. Months, days, years. There we go. Days. The reason I'm doing this is because what I want to do is much better. When I'm on the list, I want to make sure that that sort makes sense. Okay, so everything is K01 is first. And it's also sorting on the price. And I see that all these, so it's first actives. And then when I go to pending, it starts back over with the area and then the price. And then when I get to close, it starts over with the area and then the price. So I know that my sort is working. So that's what I just wanted to verify before I continue. So I got my nice view here, but if I were to say, go to quick search, start a new search, go to, sorry, the list screen, I see it's here. It's in my option, but I also want to create my own template because when I go to the edit search, this 1-residential has things that I'm not interested in and also has things that I would like to add. So let's do that. So I'm going to go through this thing. Let's see. I don't care about property attached. Yes, no, sick or county because I use city instead. I don't care about the high school because I look more for the school district. So I remove the fields that I'm not interested in. I don't want to see them every single time. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add fields that I always want to see. What I mean by this is I remove some fields and let me add appliances and architecture. So I've now added some new fields and I've removed some fields. Well, look what happens when I start a new quick search. Those fields are back and my new fields are gone because the template for 1-residential, you cannot change that permanently. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a template for ourselves where it is going to be permanent. So again, I'll remove a couple things. And then I'm going to add a couple fields. So we're going to do appliances. Let's do architecture. And let's see. I'm going to do some search. We'll do basement. Okay. So I've now added 3 new fields that I always want to see. I feel like I'm always searching on these and it takes me time. And these templates do feed into your Flexmls Pro app on your phone. So you can, you want it easy to be able to pull those fields. They're right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to save. And what we're looking at, let me close that. We're going to save quick search templates. So pay close attention to this explanation. The data that is inside these fields, if I do 3 to 4 bedrooms, 250 to 300,000, the data inside these fields, that is the save search. Whereas the save quick search template, that is the fields that are available by just seeing. There's no data in them yet, but it's what we always see there available when we first go to that template. So again, the data inside, if I start putting data in here, that's for a client or that's for me, that's for saving a search. But if I want to see those options always there or those things removed, that's the save quick search template. So this will make sense in a second. So we're going to click on save quick search template. Now, the reason I did the view already, I did that first, is because now it's already there. So I can select that and we'll call this one, I'm going to do 1.5 new res search. And the reason I'm doing 1.5 is because these are alphanumeric. So I have 1 residential, 2 land. 1.5 will show up in between those. So I know exactly where to find it. So I'm going to click on save. And then let's just start a search. I see there's this 1-residential right here. If I click on this, I see my new res search is available. So when I click on that, what do I notice? Well, I have the same number of results because this is for the residential, but those fields that I removed are gone. The new fields that I've added are always there. And then if I go to the list screen, I will see that my new res view is here. So the customizations that we've done here is we've decided what fields are available on the left side to start. And then if we go to the list screen, we see what columns we want to see. This is what we wanted. But also we set up a sort with 3 different things. We sorted by status, then by area, and then by price. And you can do as many sorts as you'd like, just personal preference. I find beyond 3 levels, it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, but that is one thing you can do. So that is how you set up the first part in our key takeaway, the quick search templates, views, and sorts. And don't worry, this is being recorded and will be live later on the YouTube page. So you can watch it if you want to do it on your own time. So it's a little different when I teach in person because then people can bring their laptops. We can do it on together, but with Zoom, that makes it difficult. So it's just easier to watch the recording after if you still have questions. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to focus on is we're going to focus on dashboard customization. So I'm going to click on Flexmls to return back to my dashboard. And what I mean by that is we see member dashboard. This should be your default dashboard. And when I click on it, I see there's another option called MLS. And this is one that's basically should be the same dashboard, but new members or whatever you're provided, you should have this member dashboard. Now, what I want to show you is that you can customize these gadgets. These rectangle things are called gadgets in a couple different ways, or you can even create your own dashboards based on how you want to use the system. So one thing that we can do is if I go into these gadgets and look for the 3 dots in the upper right corner, this will allow me to customize certain gadgets. If I go to the 3 dots and I see settings, this is going to allow me to customize this gadget. So why would I customize a hot sheet gadget? Well, I see 47 new listings in the last 24 hours. This is because it's showing me new listings over all 12 counties of our MLS service area. You probably don't necessarily work all 12 counties, so you may not be interested in seeing stuff that's way down by Maysville or wherever. Maybe you just work Kenton, Campbell, and Boone. So what we can do is we can narrow down the display of the hot sheet. I want to click on the 3 dots and I'm looking for settings. And so I'm going to click on settings. And when I do that, I see there's a bunch of options: zip code, area, city, county, SIC, or even property type. So what I'm going to do is property type. Well, I'm just going to do residential, and I could do residential land or whatever. I'm just going to keep it with residential, and maybe let me do the county of Boone, and I'm just do Boone and Kenton. So we're going to keep it nice and simple. And then I click on save. So now this hot sheet gadget, and if I hover over this, depending on your screen size, you might not see the whole label, but if you hover over it, it'll actually tell you. This is showing me just for Boone, Kenton for residential. So now I'm down to 20 new listings. This is much more manageable for me if I'm checking the hot sheet every single day. Again, I don't necessarily need to see stuff in other parts of Northern Kentucky if I'm not interested. And then I can just click on new listing. I see here the 20 new listings, and right here I could switch to, like, say, price changes or withdrawn, whatever I want to do. Let's check out something that's back on market. And then so that shows me, again, just for the counties that I'd put. So if I click on Flexmls, return back, we have Boone and Kenton. If I decide, okay, I want Campbell County as well, click on the 3 dots, go to settings, and then I'm going to do County of Campbell. So I can customize this as much as I'd like. Now, if you really want to break out your different gadgets, so we could have multiple gadgets, and I'll go into that into a little bit, but just to show you, you don't have to have just one hot sheet gadget. I'm actually going to create a dashboard that has 6 different hot sheet gadgets, all for different things. But before we do that, I just want to point out again, if you see the 3 dots in the upper right corner of a gadget, you click on it and you go to settings, you will be able to see what customizations you can do for that individual gadget. Now, if I go to my listings, I see that it can do my listings or my office listings. If you are an administrator or you're a broker, you can look at all the office listings here. I'm just going to keep to my listings, but one thing that is cool is if you want to see everything you've sold, your default, I believe, is going to be 30. I always change it to 365 and days to expire. This will let you know if any of your listings are going to expire. I might even want to send that up for 14 days. So then you'll actually see listings to expire. You'll see a number here and you can click on that and that'll show your listings that are going to expire in 7 days, 14 days, whatever it is that you set up. Now, we do have a customization, which I will do later on in class, that will email you listings when they're going to expire, or email you about the listings that are going to expire. So we can set that up as well. Now I'll check. Okay, so like the new search, I could go to the 3 dots, go to settings. I see a bunch of different property types. I just added my new search. So maybe instead I want to use my new res instead of this one. I could click on this and then unclick residential by holding down control and clicking with my mouse. And maybe I'm not interested in commercial or any of the other ones. So I just want a handful, click on save. Now I have a new search with just the things that I do. Some people will start searches from here. Others just click on the quick search, just personal preference. Save searches. This one, same thing. We go to the three dots. We're looking for settings to see if we want to customize it. I click on it. Now, I have it show all searches, but one thing you can do, which is kind of cool, is you can switch it to the only favorites. Some people will favorite searches like I talked about all my production in the best of Flexmls class, or certain things like maybe you're just looking for auctions or whatever. I do only favorites. So if you make a search of favorite, it can show you just your favorites here. But these labels up at the top, this is functionality. So I always talk in my classes, pay attention to your mouse behavior. When I see that index finger, it tells me that I can click on it. So if I want to see all my saved searches, I can click on this. It'll bring me to all my saved searches. And the star means it's favorited. So if I just want to star my favorite searches, I go back to my dashboard, this gadget, because I told it to just do my favorites. Make sure I update that again. Oh, I think I didn't finish clicking that, but this would show you just your favorites, or it's delayed. Murphy's Law, whenever you teach, something always goes wrong. So contacts, the same thing. Click on the three dots, see if there is a settings option, click on settings. You can decide what columns you want to see. Like if they have the portal on, hold on Control or Command. On remove listings to approve. Maybe I want to do last active, just whatever you want to see in this thing right here. And if you wanted to pull up a contact record for, say, like Han, I click on this on him. This will pull up his contact record. And if I click on Flexmls, it always returns back to the dashboard. Otherwise, if you were to click on contacts right here, again, we see the index finger. This would bring me into my contact management, the main screen. So that is how you do some basic customizations on the dashboards you already have. You look for it. You can do the three dots to go to settings. But what I want to do now is I want to create a couple custom dashboards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here where it says customize, click on it. And what I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for add dashboard. So I'm going to add a dashboard. And the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to do a blank dashboard, and I'm going to call it hot sheets. And I'm going to create a blank dashboard. And once I've done a blank dashboard, it's going to bring me to the section to add individual gadgets. So what I'm going to do is click through here, see, I can find what I'm looking for. Okay. I see the hot sheet. So I'm going to add gadget. It says added again. I'm going to add, say, 4 hot sheet gadgets, or you could do 6, whatever you want to do. We're going to do 4 hot sheet gadgets, and I'm going to return back to the dashboard. So I have this dashboard called hot sheets. Let me just move these over. I see my 4 directionals. That tells me I can hold my left mouse button down and I can sort them there. So they all say the exact same thing because I have not customized them. So let's just do some customization. So I'm going to go to settings. Maybe for this one, I want Covington North. And I just want residential. And maybe residential lease because I have clients that are willing to do rental if they can't find what they're looking for. And it tells me exactly what it is. Well, this hot sheet, let's go to settings. This time, let's try County of Campbell. And I'm just going to do land for this one. So I'm breaking my hot sheets into different things because if you find there's just too much information on the hot sheet, you could just come here to your special dashboard, take a look and see what you see. And then you could click on stuff like, oh, there is been an extension in Campbell County for land. Click on it. There you go. Now, if I click on Flexmls, what it's going to do, it's going to bring me back to my default dashboard, which is the member dashboard, which should always be your default. Just because we provide information on the screen, we want you to see it. So in the upper left corner, it says member dashboard. Whenever you see this down arrow or it's a chevron, it's telling you there's a drop down. So if I click on that, go to back to hot sheets. So then I see my hot sheet gadgets that I've customized. Let's do a couple of more. Go to settings. This time I'll do area of Ellesmere Erlanger, and I'm going to do multifamily and residential. And maybe I just want to keep the full hot sheet gadgets just to give me an idea of all the stuff that's going on. And this is for 24 hours. Again, we see that down arrow or chevron. Click on it. I could switch it to, like, say, the last week. Now, if you want to go beyond 1 week, we are going to be doing custom hot sheets, which we will be covering after we talk about the dashboard. So that is my right here, my hot sheet dashboard. Now I want to do another one. So we're going to go up to customize and we're going to add another dashboard. Now this dashboard is already filled out with the gadgets. I just need to customize them. So I'm going to go to add dashboards. And let's see, where is it? It is, there it is, market stats right here. So what this is going to do is this is going to give me 6 different gadgets that I can customize how I want. And as I showed you, you can add gadgets as well. So I can do this market stats dashboard, which I'm going to add this dashboard right now. It has these 6 things, which is fascinating. This is some really good information. But the problem is this right here, all this data is for the 12 counties of our service area. So if I want to get really specific and I want to see things side by side, I'm going to customize them here. Now, the reason this is important is I cover the market stats right here. I click on market stats. I cover this in the Best of Flexmls class and also the, it's not loading for me. Give me a second. Oh, sorry. Market summary. I cover the market summary. And so I have this for Florence, but if I go to customize and then new location, I can only do 1 location at a time. So if I were to do, say, Triple Crown and Triple Crown, it's only allowing me to do 1. So if I, like, say, do Florence, that's great. But then if I want to run it for Campbell County, I would have to do it again. So what's really cool is a lot of the same information is on the stats dashboard. Oh, I accidentally closed Flex. Give me 1 second. We'll go back to our, and I talked about this beginning of class, but make sure you are watching these videos. These videos are pulled from the call log. So we create this content specifically for you based on the questions that you have when you call us. So I'll go back to my market stats. So again, this is interesting. This is everything in the MLS. But what I can do is I want to create a couple more absorption rate gadgets, put them side by side, and then do them for different parts of the service area. So I can see them side by side. It gives me a better idea of what's going on. So like absorption rate, this is the number of months it would take for all inventory to dry up if there was no new inventory. So this might be really interesting because you want to see how quickly things are going to go, or say the sale to original list price ratio. This one is interesting because how things are going for in Florence could be different than Covington or Newport. So if you're looking at the aggregate, the whole thing, it doesn't give you as much information that if you know, okay, your client's going to list something in Newport, why don't we actually see how quickly things are going, how hot the market is with the absorption rate, and then also we'll see what they're going to actually get for it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add 2 more absorption rate gadgets, and I'm going to add 2 more sale to original list price ratios. So let me go up to customize. I'm not adding a new dashboard because I have the dashboard that I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to add gadgets. And again, we're going to do 2 absorption rates and 2 sale to original list price ratios. Add gadget. So you could click through these different things till you find what you're looking for, but I already see the statistics section. So it says it's already on the dashboard. That's fine. I want 2 more to customize. Add. And then I also want the sale to original list price ratio. Add. add. So I've added the gadgets that I want. I'm going to return back to my dashboard. And let me just move these up. I see the directionals. For directionals, hold my left mouse button. I'm going to move this one up. And then the sale to original price ratio. Let me actually move this one up and get it here. There we go. So I have all 6 gadgets. They say the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to customize this. Now, at this point, you should remember we're looking for settings. So absorption rate, let's do some different cities. So we're going to do Florence. Or I'll do Kaiser. Maybe I could do areas, or maybe I just actually no. We'll keep it with the actual cities, just so we're consistent. City of Florence. Oh, I got to get rid of the one that I did. Can you only do one thing here? Do my city of Florence, double click on save. So this is the absorption rate. I'll look at that. That's crazy. 0.4 is about 0.4 months, where the rest of the MLS is 1.16. Now, that's still a very, very strong seller's market, but this is 3 times as hot than this. So let's do absorption rate, settings. Let's do Covington. Again, I could do the area, but I'm going to find my city of Covington. Let's do, so Covington, yeah, is not as hot. Where Florence, things are going really, really quickly. Let's do Newport. Settings. Do Newport of city. Now, I just want to point out before I continue, when you click inside this box, it gives you options. These aren't your only options. These are just things that have been run recently. You'll notice map overlays. In the Best of Flexmls class, I drew custom map shapes that, like, one included something like Edgewood Beyond. I did Austin, was like Austinburg and Wallace Woods. I combined them together. So they're 2 different things, but I made them into one shape because you can only select one thing here. So I also did a shape called Hempstead and what I call it. Oh, there's Hampshire and Hempstead, I believe. So I drew a shape that, here we go, Hampshire and Hempstead. I drew a shape that had both subdivisions, the shape. So it's one thing. So I can use this here if I wanted to do the absorption rate just for those 2 subdivisions because they're right next to each other. So again, when you see the pop-up, not your only options, just start typing in what you're looking for. And we're going to do the city of Newport, click on save. So now we see, ooh, absorption rate of Newport, 2.5 months. So things are not moving that quickly. I mean, again, still a strong seller's market, but comparatively to Florence, if you're listing something in Florence versus listing something in Newport, if you break down the data to this granular level, you can get a better idea of what's going on. So we'll do the same thing for these 3 cities. We're going to look for the settings. Let's do Florence. Now, the sale to original list price ratio is important because when people list stuff, it's a good idea to find out, well, is your client going to get what they're asking for, or is it they're going to have to be ready to do some price dropping. So it's going to be important to price it correctly right away. But we know a lot of times clients, they are insistent on what they know the price is. And they say, yeah, well, you have to list it at this price. So if you're going to be dealing with that conversation now, we see with Florence, it was actually above asking for quite a while. It still was pretty close to 100, and now it's about 98.6. So still pretty close. We see stuff is moving fast, and then we see you're getting very close to what they're asking. So someone listing a house in Florence, if priced correctly, is going to be a lot easier for you. Covington, it really got it dropped down towards 94, and now it's starting to go back up. A lot of times you see this change just because this is cyclical with the weather. But let's see, what about Newport? So it's taken a lot longer. So I'm wondering with Newport if we might be down by like 95, 96%. So we'll go to settings. We'll try plug in Newport. Do the city again, but you could do the areas if you want, just personal preference. And look at that. It's just all over the place in Newport. This could be also, there's just not a lot of sales that are happening. That's why it's bouncing around. But you know, you could show your clients that, well, 95.5%. So it's going to stay longer on the market. And also it's not going to get to the original list price. The average is 95%. If I go to the three dots and go back to settings, you'll notice that right here, display, I can actually have the list price, which is like when it goes pending versus the original list price, do both. So hold on control, click on this. I can have now both of them if I want to see it. There's usually like a percentage or two difference between it, but let's just set that up for all of these. So whenever you're doing the settings, don't just look at location. There may be other options that are available. So this is some really, so yeah, it's basically going to go together in the format, but there's going to be some difference between the percentages. So what's great about this is you really do get to see how fast things go or how they're different, but in different cities. Let's I'm going to move sold days on market. This might be another good one. I'm going to add a couple more gadgets just so we are aware of how we did that. I want 2 more sold days on market. So go to customize, add gadgets. Now we remember it's in the statistics section. So sold days on market. There's one. There's the next one. We're going to return back to our dashboard and I'll just move these ones up. So you don't have to add the market stats dashboard to have all 6. You know, if you know what you're doing, just do a blank dashboard and then add the gadgets that you want. So going to go to the 3 dots. Now this is interesting. This is the average cumulative days on market, but this is for the entire MLS. So I want to get more granular. And you'll notice we have average CDOM and average DOM. So cumulative days versus days on market, there's usually pretty close, but maybe I want to see both. So let's do what we did last time. We'll do Florence. And you'll see, like, once I know what I'm doing, this is super fast. We'll do Covington. Oh, now you notice I didn't pay attention to what I was clicking on. This did subdivision other of Florence. Well, that's bad data. So pay close attention to what you're actually clicking on. So I'm going to type in Florence, make sure I'm clicking on that city. I clicked on this one down here. My mouse is massive to show it on the big screen. You don't see it on Zoom, but I tend to click on the wrong things because of the size of my mouse. Again, don't do the subdivision. The first thing you see, I'll find Covington as the city because there's a lot of things with the name of Covington. And then, so, okay, we see the days on market, 18 and 21, 24 for Covington, but that's just the one option. So hold down Control or Command. I have both of those. And then let's do it for Newport. Make sure to do my city, select both of them, Control or Command and click on it. So there we go. So this is why we see that absorption rate higher, is because look on the days on market, 43 and 51. So you're dealing with a client in Newport and they want to list it. This might be something good to print off and say, hey, this is what the market is showing me. I mean, the other ones, like, this has dropped because it's getting warmer. Well, these are actually going up. So if you just looked at this at the whole MLS, you're not going to get this nice granular data that is really cool. So I just want to point out there's a couple other dashboards we could add. If I go to customize, add dashboard, I have one called Message Board Plus. So all this one is if I click on this dashboard, it starts with the message board and it gives you space to add other gadgets if you want. I recommend if you're going to do a dashboard and you want to use it, make sure you at least see the message board, because we do have the training here. We will put information that we want you to see. So I could go to customize. Maybe I want to add a hot sheet gadget, MLS links. I'm just going to add a couple of things and just show you when I return to this dashboard, I can change things around, but I can also go to customize and there is an option for me to change the layout. So we have the 50-50. You could do like a 66-33 or 3 individual. Now this has a lot of data, so the 3 individuals probably aren't going to work well, but we could try it this way. So this takes up a lot of space, and maybe I want to change around these columns. So I put the things that don't need a lot of space versus the things that have more space over here. So that is the message board plus. Otherwise, if you go to customize, we do have a dashboard that is trend graphics. So we have an integration for trend graphics. If I go back to my original dashboard and click here, I can change some stuff. But this trend graphics, this is just a dashboard which has a just simple iframe with some information. Now, this is interesting, but Flex has done a really good job about their updating their stats reports. So this market trends graphics, this one will actually can go back 10 years. So this one's really cool. And I will talk about this in the statistics class, which we cover next week on Zoom. So that is the dashboard customization. What we're going to do is I'm just going to take, we're going to do a 10-minute break. I just like to take breaks even on Zoom because I go through a lot of information. I want to make sure everyone can catch up on emails, do whatever they need to do and be fresh up. So we'll start up again in 10 minutes. Okay, we're back. So what we're going to finish with this class with is we're going to do some custom hot sheets, look at the default map, and then some general preferences, which are on the handout that you were provided yesterday. So the custom hot sheet, what's cool about the custom hot sheet is like we see here that I've set up the hot sheet for like the counties that I want, and I did the residential. So if I hover over it, I see it tells me what I have. Now this is cool, but the issues is 24, 48, 72 a week. This is really interesting, but this goes back 24 hours from now. So there's 29 new listings. If I look at this now, and then I check it again in a few hours, I'm still seeing those listings that I saw 3 hours from earlier. So it's always the 24 hours back or the 48, whatever. So you're seeing things over and over. This market is pretty hot right now. The inventory, there's not a lot of stuff. If you want to be really aware of what's once jumping on, the custom hot sheet will allow you to see just the things that are new since you last look. So if you're looking every 3 or 6 hours, you can just see stuff for the last 3 to 6 hours. The other cool thing about the custom hot sheet is we see that it only goes back a week. Well, if I go on vacation for a couple weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even a month, and I want to see, okay, what has happened in that last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month, I can do a custom hot sheet and go back and see up to 45 days what's going on. So the easiest way I find to pull up the custom hot sheet is just to click on the 3 dots, go to custom hot sheet, and it'll bring you to the screen. It says hot sheet inquiry. Now you'll see that it says quick search hot sheet run on 3/8. So the last time I taught this class was the last time I did a custom hot sheet. So this timestamp is important because if I go down and run this quick search hot sheet, what it's going to do is it's going to run it for the last month. Again, this timestamp tells you this will run for the last month. So if I do all these things, I have the quick search, meaning whatever information I plugged in here. So if I put a price range, I did residential, I did a couple of areas, you have options, whatever you want to do. And I even selected all 3 MLSs because now I'm looking at areas that are clearly in our market area. But if you are looking at areas that are close to the borders of those other MLSs, it's a good idea to search in those other MLSs so you see all listings. They're probably not going to put something in Newport necessarily, but something that's further down might be more often in a Lexington or Louisville. So if you want to see everything in those our 3 MLSs where we data share. So again, pay close attention. This is the last time it ran. And if I don't change anything, it shows me the timestamp for the last time. So this is going to be more than a month. So let's run the quick search hot sheet. I'll see the timestamp up here. So the reason I see 177 new listings is because we're running this for about 6 weeks. in just those areas that I told it, in just residential. So I see all this stuff. So this is the kind of thing that you could do it for the vacation, or you could do it since the last time you ran it. Works either way. But let's go back to our dashboard. I'm going to go to my custom hot sheet. Now pay attention to what the timestamp says. 11 a.m. So it is 11:01. So if I run this hot sheet gadget, it's only going to show, and I change nothing, it'll show me just the new listings in the last minute, which likely I'm not going to find anything. So this timestamp is the most important part about the custom hot sheet, because if you want to do a custom hot sheet and you just want to see stuff that are new since the last time you ran it, meaning you're checking every couple of hours, this is the way you do it. Because if I'm looking at my 24-hour hot sheet, these 29, and I'm checking this very, very frequently. I keep seeing stuff that I saw 4 hours ago, 6 hours ago. What's actually new? Well, if I want to see what's actually new in just the last hour or two, if this custom hot sheet will allow me to run it. So again, I'm going to run it, but you'll notice it's only going to be for the last 2 minutes, which is fine. So run quick search hot sheet. 0 listings, which I expect I probably will see no data, because again, it's just for 2 minutes. But this is how it works, that if you are checking it every few hours, that's how you would do it. You do the custom hot sheet. It'll run it since that last timestamp, which we will see again. I'll go back into my 3 dots, custom hot sheet. My timestamp is 11:02. That's what I expect. So if I waited an hour and ran it, it'd show me everything for the last hour. So this custom hot sheet really lets you get more granular. You can decide what you want to see. Maybe I want to see all kinds of stuff, even text changes. And then the quick search, all this quick search means is it's allowing you to plug in some basic information. The other option is a saved search. Now pay close attention to the difference. The quick search, again, these fields, this may be enough for you. But the save search, when you save searches, remember in a save search, you can do a map shape. So what I could do is I'm going to do a quick search right here. And I'm just going to draw a really fast map shape. Now you could use areas if you want, but area might not be exact to what you want. So I'm just going to do this really quickly. I cover this in depth in the Best of Flexmls class. So I'm creating a custom map shape. And this could encompass multiple areas, whatever I want. And every time I click, it gives me a point. And when I'm done, I stop moving my mouse. So I'm going to stop moving my mouse and double click. And so for the purposes of a custom hot sheet, and pay close attention to this, because this one doesn't make a lot of sense, but this is how the system works. I'm going to save this search, but I'm not going to have any status selected. I'm going to create a search specifically just for a custom hot sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncheck status. The reason I'm unchecking status, because if I just did active, well, if I'm looking at status changes or back on market or go to pending, then it's not going to work. So I'm going to uncheck status. Don't worry about your results. And I'm going to go up to save search. And I'm just going to call this one Northern Shape Hot Sheet. I encompassed a bunch of different things. Hot sheet. The reason I'm calling it hot sheet, because then I know that this is just specifically for the hot sheet, and it has this map shape. Now, the reason I'm doing this is so I click on save. This is just something that I'm using for my hot sheet. And it may not make sense now, but if you watch the recording later on, you try it out, it'll probably make more sense. So this Northern Shape, again, this was like Crescent Springs. This was Villa Hills. This is a couple different things. I may not have areas or cities or whatever specific to what I want to do. So if I go back into my custom hot sheet, I can go to my saved searches, find that one, that Northern Shape or whatever it is you want to call it, and run this hot sheet. This is going to show me everything that's in that map shape. So the saves, and then I could do price, I could do a price, I could do cities, I can do any other type of search I would with the save search. But I think it just makes a lot of sense is when people want to get more granular or more specific, they don't see those options they want in the quick search. If you create a save search just for the purposes of a hot sheet, do your map shape, uncheck status, that's the key thing. And then I can run this and this will just show it for that map, everything in that map shape. Now, you'll notice the timestamp. Well, if I run it, it's just going to show it for the last 4 minutes. So for this, I'm going to want to use a relative days back. So maybe I was on vacation and that area that I drew, that's the area I always work. And I want to see, hey, what has happened in the last 3 weeks in that area? So if I run this save search hot sheet, we see it's gone back 3 weeks. Okay, here are the 16 new listings. And look, all the stuff that has already gone pending or closed. Just because we know things can go very, very quickly in this market. And some of these are Alpen checks. So these are the new constructions. But I see new listings, price changes, closed just in the last 3 weeks in that map shape. So the custom hot sheet gives you a couple different options. The first one, like I talked about before, if you're checking the hot sheet all the time and you keep doing the 24 hours, you're going to see a lot of the same listings until the next day. The other thing you can use it for is if you're on vacation or you're gone for a few weeks and you want to see something that is beyond the week here, we do the custom hot sheet. But really the coolest option about it is when you go into it, you have the options to do a quick search, meaning whatever fields are here, and it saves. So it saves what I did here. So I did these 3 before, it saves that. The other option is the save search, which when we do the search specifically for a hot sheet, I'll do one more just so we see how it works. I could do prices, bedrooms, bathrooms, all I want to do. That's more of a search though, like you do for a client. If you just work a certain market area and you want to know what's going on. So I'm going to draw one right here. Now I might have an area that matches this up, or that area might have more information that I actually need. So I'm just going to call this Lakeside and Fort. So key thing for a save search specifically for a hot sheet is I need to uncheck the status. Don't worry about the results. This isn't for a client. This is just kind of for statistical purposes or for the hot sheet. Click on save. And I'm just going to call this one. Give it a second to load. There we go. Lakeside and FM hot sheet. So I know it's specifically for the hot sheet. I have no statuses. Click on save. So I can do a custom hot sheet just for this shape or whatever shape I want to do that makes sense to you. Because like I said before, areas, cities, some of these might not actually work for how you want to do it. So we do map shapes. It's just like any other search parameter. Go to settings. Oh, sorry. Go to custom hot sheet. It saves the last one that I did. So I could change this one to the Lakeside. And because I just ran it 3 minutes ago, I may want to do a relative days back. So I'll do say 10 days back, because that's more than the week. I want to see, I was on vacation for 10 days. This is the area I usually work. This is my expertise. So let's see everything. Oh, let me add a few more history events too. I believe all of them will be checked by default, but I can't remember. So I want to see just absolutely everything was gone. In Barbados for 10 days, I'm back, ready to rock. I want to see what is happening in my stomping ground. Well, the last 10 days, not much. So a new listing, a couple price changes, and one pending. So probably not a lot of residential properties necessarily, or just not a hot area. So that is the custom hot sheet. It makes sense once you've done it a few times, but like I said before, this is recorded. You can always watch it later today or whenever you want. So there's another thing that we can do is we can do the default map. And if I type in default, pull up the default map. So what the default map is, this right here is what I see whenever I do a search and I'm on the map screen right here. That box is what actually shows here as the default. Now, yours is going to be much broader because we have 12 counties. Well, I just zoomed it in closer to where the board office is. So let's go to default map again. And what I can do is click on this rectangle if I want to change the default to something else. Just click. Now this is the new default. Click on save. So when I do a quick search, now it should be showing me stuff over in Newport and Woodlawn and Idlewild. There we go. Now it shows me the things because I made the shape bigger. So the default map is just some people, if they're really only working a couple of counties or a specific area, they like to be able to come in here on the rectangle. Maybe I'm just interested in this right here. And then so it's automatically zoomed in. I mean, if you were to do searches in other parts like Cold Spring, it's going to zoom over to that section. But this is just a cool thing. Some people like to do this default. And what's really great is, okay, we have that. I can collapse the map with these two things and really get a good idea what I'm looking at. Because if I want to zoom in, let's find some properties. I'm going to use the eye for the nosy neighbor. And I can just start clicking on these different parcels and see if stuff has been listed. There we go. This was listed twice. And even go under like realist tax info. Pull up RPR. So just, it's nice to be able to change your map based on the areas that you work, whatever you want to do. Click on these again to uncollapse the map. So that was the default map. Now, the final thing that I'm going to cover, and it looks like we're going to have about 5 more minutes. This is the general preferences. So in Flex, you can customize so many things, and the location to find it in this system, a lot of it is under, be able to spell, general preferences. So I'm going to find general preferences, click on here, and I'm just going to go through the different things. So if you want a larger default font size, your search results, if you want public or private versions, you are a realtor, so you're going to want a private because it has all the private data. You could decide if you want a different default report or a different business card. Now, this one is important. MLS has to search by default. Everyone by default just has Northern Kentucky. But if you are working those areas that are like right next to other, either Lexington or Louisville, it would make sense to turn these on. So when you search, you get the results as well. We're not a true data share where we save or we share the same MLS numbers and then you automatically, doesn't matter which MLS it's listed in, you see it by default. True data shares do that. So these, you could turn these on. Go to the quick launch. Now show results from my MLS first. So if I were to type in, say, City of Covington, that's like City of Covington. But if I were to put in like, say, an address or something, or like us, whatever, you want our MLS first because we're Northern Kentucky. Email, this just shows you when you send your emails out, like what you want your clients to be able to see. A lot of this is real nitpicky, but Flex gives you the option to do it. It says, again, Flex MLS is flexible MLS. Daily hot sheet. Some people like to have the hot sheet emailed to them once a day. If they're not checking it a lot, you do the 24-hour or remember the custom. So this custom hot sheet right now, if I go back into my hot sheet, I'm going to open this up into a new tab so I don't lose what I'm working on. Go to my hot sheet and I go down to my custom section. The reason I like to access the custom hot sheet from that gadget is I get to skip this section. Go to custom hot sheet settings. Whatever is blue here is what it's going to send. So if I change it to quick search, this is what it'll send, this one in whatever data is here. If I switch it to save search, it'll use whatever is here. And that is what's going to fire off in this daily hot sheet email. So if you do want to use those customs, some printing pop-ups or help. Dashboard. So the 14 to 365, this will tell you when your listings are expired or sold listings. We already set these up in our actual gadget, but you can do it here. Listings, if you want to include whatever you want to include when you send listings or you're off market. These are all just like little customizations based on what you want to see on your screen. I find most people don't really do this. This one is important though, and I talked about this at the beginning of the class. We will see, and let me actually open up our member dashboard. We will see in our member dashboard that we have listings that are going to expire. We set those up, those settings. But this is proactive, or sorry, this is reactive. I have to look at this and see this. If I'm not logging in all the time, I don't notice. So what you can do here is if you can turn this on, and if you want to have it email you to let you know your listings are going to expire, set this up, turn it on, and make sure you save it. And what's cool, it says you will additionally receive an email notification once per day for each of the 7 days prior. So you'll get one in 14 days, and then once it hits 7 days, it's going to fire it off every single day. Now, key distinction here, if the listing is active, it does this. If your listing is pending and it goes past the expiration date, it's pending. Flex thinks that's going to get closed. It doesn't send it for the pending listings. So just so you should still be aware of that, because we have seen that happen. If you don't want to get portal login messages, so a lot of people used to turn those on and they get too many emails. Opt out of things. Your contacts, enable reverse prospecting by default. I find most people have this for no. Reverse prospecting, what that is that's basically, okay, I have a client who has a certain search, 250 to 300K in Florence. And if I allow them to have reverse prospecting on, what that does is another member of the board can run reverse prospecting, find out all the members of the board who have clients whose searches their listing would match. So like if you list something and you're getting no attention whatsoever and you can't figure out, you can do reverse prospecting, email all the other members, say, hey, I got this great listing. You have a client. They don't get access to the name of your client. Some people really don't like these emails, so they have it off, and this is usually off by default. Some boards love it, other boards don't, just personal preference. Broker attribution, the new rules for NARS requires broker attribution for listings. If you want to use just the broker, the email or phone, or you want to use your own, this is how that works. And then comparables, when we talk about CMAs, there is an option to do comparables. What I mean by that is if I type in 1180 Bella Vista, I can pull up the property, but there's also this comparable search that if I click on this, this will do a search and find comps for this property based on what I have here. So my search radius is 1 mile. Yours by default is 0.25. If I want to do bedrooms or bathrooms adjustment or whatever properties. So let's keep it at 1 mile. And I'm going to click on save. So when I save, I'm saving all these things. And just to show you, we'll do that quick comparable search right here. Click on it. It's going to try to find comps for me within 1 mile with the same number of bedrooms, same number of bathrooms for whatever statuses I have. So this search, this comparable search, if you want to decide what it's going to do, those settings are in general preferences right here. So if I go back to the comparables section, that is that. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, I'm going to